What's up, everyone? First off, I want to say that this isn't going to be a very highly edited or very good quality video. This is my second channel, so this is just going to be a yap sesh, basically. Also, I want to say that I am by no means a hater of either of these movies I'm about to talk bad about. I literally own a physical copy of both of the movies. A physical copy in 2026. Okay, so I'm not a hater. But I have some things that I kind of just want to talk about the movies. So what made me think about this is the Fnaf 3 movie is coming out next year, third Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which I'm pretty hyped about, to be honest, like I was for the first and second. But the thing is, I really, really, really hope that they choose a little bit of a different direction with the third movie. Now, I've heard people saying that the first and second movie, they should have been rated R, which I get because the Five Nights at Freddy's lore and franchise in general isn't supposed to be kid friendly, and so I understand why they want it to be rated R. They want it to have the intensity of the lore and the games, but I'm not going to say that, sit here and say that those movies or the third one should be rated R, because, FNAF has always been for, a more general audience than, rated R would restrict it to. That would cut out a lot of the fans from seeing the movie, newer fans, because I'm sure there's still fans to this day, kids that are playing the first games for the first times and are going to want to see this movie, and I don't think they, should be restricted from that. So I'm not going to be one of those people saying it should be rated R. I will say, however, the main thing that I want to see with this third movie, unlike the first two, they were not scary. And a movie being scary is very subjective, depending on the person, depending on what gets you. But I think a lot of people can agree that the first two movies just aren't very scary movies, and that is not a Five Nights at Freddy's trait for me. Because, just to look at the games where this all came from. Look at the very first game of Five Nights at Freddy's. That game, while it's predictable after all these years, of course, it's scary. The cameras, the animatronics, the sound, the atmosphere, the jump scares, it is a good scary game. And I mean, FNAF, don't even get me started on FNAF 4, okay? Literally terrifying. And I just wish, maybe not all of that. I understand maybe not all of the scariness from the games. You're not going to be able to transfer the same vibe of a video game to a movie, but man, I want the movies to be a little bit scary, and I'm sure to some they are. And I will say the first movie has some scary moments. I'll say that. I want to get that out there, because watching the first movie, it did have some pretty creepy moments, pretty intense moments, that I thought were pretty scary. But then right after that, the animatronics built a pillow fort and kind of just became way less scary. And I get, because there's souls of children in them, so it totally makes sense for the plot the movie was going for. But the second Freddy and the gang started making pillow fort, and that scene of Bonnie falling down like this, that was funny. But it just completely ruined any creepy or scariness the rest of the movie had. So the first one it was a little bit better on the scariness. It was pretty creepy, the introduction of, I guess, Spring Bonnie, the main villain that comes in, stabs Vanessa and all that. That was good, but it just not very scary. Doesn't have any level of the scariness that the games have. And also, the second movie, it may just be me. It very well could be, because I've heard people say they were pretty creeped out by it. There was, I remember after watching the second movie, looking just, or not looking, but after watching the second movie, just thinking, I don't think there was a single moment during that movie that I was scared, like, or even on, like, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I wasn't nervous. I was literally just like chill the entire time. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't the type of horror that scares me. There's definitely genres of horror that scare me a lot more than others. But I don't know. It just like there wasn't a whole lot of like scariness behind it. Like there were scary characters and like moments that could have been creepy, but like I don't know. I felt like a lot of the jump scares were really predictable. Like I know the jump scare of like the puppet first coming out may have got some people pretty good, but it was really predictable, and I don't know. I just didn't really. I never found myself being scared, which is not something that I want to have happen watching a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And really, that's like my main complaint. If I had a complaint about these movies, it's just make them more scary, you know? This is Five Nights at Freddy's we're talking about. Like, I literally have clips on this channel of me getting jump scared and flying back in my chair. You know, the games, they're scary. They're good. That's kind of like a defining thing of the series, and I just want to see. It would be cool to see that in the movies more, you know. But the second thing about the movies that is also going to be a little controversial is there's a lot of choices with the plot that I am just not a big fan of. Like, again, I'll say in general, I liked the first movie better than the second one, but like I just like everything about the first movie like just a little bit better than the second one. But like the first movie, I'll say like they did so much like setup with the plot just to kind of like tie it all to one man, you know, I guess William Afton in the movie franchise. Like there was the whole big thing about the plot about like, you know, Mike's missing brother Garrett, like that got kidnapped. Like that took up so much time of the movie, and it was just like, oh, it's the guy that found this job, you know, I don't know what their official title is, but the guy that it's the guy that found your job, and it also happens to be the dad of Vanessa, and it's also the guy who did the missing children incident, and it's also the guy wearing the bunny suit. Like they literally, like, there was just so much like backstory and trauma dumping, all just to be like, oh, it's just this dude. Like this dude, he's the reason for all that. You know, like they didn't, like, I guess it kind of ties it all together neatly, but it's also like it felt like we just like wasted so much time of the movie like building up these mysteries just to be like, oh, it's that dude. You know, I don't know. It just felt like too much time was spent on all that just to tie it to the one guy. And also with the first movie, the animatronic designs, actually with both movies, the animatronic designs are absolutely fire. They are incredible, but they get barely any screen time. The first movie, you know, the animatronic, they got more screen time, but still not nearly enough. They didn't have nearly as much screen time or nearly as many scary moments, or they deserve so much more with the incredible like design that they had. But then the movie just focused more on like Mike and his dreams and his, you know, like kidnapped brother that we don't really know anything about. But now we move on to the second movie, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a smile on my face for probably a lot of the second movie. It was fun. You know what? I'll say that it was a fun movie. It was a fun experience as a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Of course, it was a fun experience. But was it a good movie? I can't really say that, to be honest, because it felt like just like grasping at straws the entire movie and going out of the way to like, you know, try to fix plot holes, but also creating new ones. And it was just like a whole lot going on, and it just didn't really end in a good place. I don't know what the general consensus about this is. Um, but I think it was kind of weird what they did with the puppet, and like the puppet physically possessing people's body and jumping from body to body. Like, I don't really like that, because I mean, like, I understand, like, the girl dies, Charlie, and possesses the puppet like the games, and that makes sense, that's good. But then, like, the entity of the puppet is now jumping from body to body, possessing them and making them this like weird possessed creature type thing. I don't know. It's really out there. It's different from the games, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad just because of that. But like, I'm not a fan of it. It was weird to see, because that is not a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. That's very Five Nights at Freddy's of them to do, to make like it felt more like one of those like supernatural ghost horror things than anything to do with Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, it felt like they just threw that in there to conveniently help out with the plot, which maybe some people liked it. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest. Also, the whole thing of like the toy animatronics want to bust out of the pizzeria so they can go beat up on some adults because adults are bad. Like, that felt a little dumb. That may be mean, but it's like, really? Like, they don't want to, like, these trapped souls, they don't want to like move on and find peace finally. They want to walk their big robot selves out in the real world and go beat up on some adults because adults are bad. Like, again, not a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. Like, that's not a thing in the games, like that they just want to go beat up adults. And I don't know, it was weird having them just like walking around out in the day, like Toy Freddy's just chilling, just like making his way down the street. Like, I understand like they covered it up with like the Faz Fest thing, but like, I don't know, it was a little weird. It was pretty goofy. Again, just ruined a lot of scariness. Mangle was scary. This kind of just came out of nowhere, but Mangle's scenes and the parts Mangle in, that was scary. That was good. Mangle was probably the best part about this movie, to be honest. And like the manipulation of like Toy Chica to Abby, that's a cool aspect, but it also, I don't know, it threw me off because, again, it didn't really feel like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. It felt like more just something they were throwing in to kind of add more to the plot. Also, like, bro, they made a big deal about Toy Bonnie being voiced by MatPat. He had like one line, I think, and like one scene in general. He had like one scene and one line. It was so unimpactful too. It was just like, I don't know. And they, I don't know. They just made a big deal about it, and it kind of seemed like they were just trying to get people hooked in, because it really amounted to nothing. And also, it's the scene of like the toy animatronics in the house at the end, and the regular animatronics find their way to the house and come and rip their heads off. Now, it was funny, but at the same time, it was like kind of like a facepalm. Like, what is going on? Like, what am I watching right now? Like, I understand like Mike went and asked the spirits for help, and they came and helped. I don't know, it was just a little goofy. I feel like there was a little bit of a less goofy way to do that. And also, the last thing that I'm not a really big fan of was the ending in general. Like, they did the music box to stop the puppet, right? But then they stopped doing the music box and was like, oh, are we okay? Like, is everyone okay? And which is like dumb. Like, make sure you're safe first. Make sure you've got the puppet away, and then of course it all ends, and Mike is like being a jerk to Vanessa, which I don't like that. I don't like that they did that. I don't know. I guess it's helpful or not. I don't know. I guess it's a way to move along the plot, whatever they're trying to do. But I was not a big fan of that. Like him just randomly being a jerk to Vanessa. That sucked. I actually didn't like that, because like he's breaking apart this small little family they had anyway. and then her getting possessed, which again, I don't like that whole possession thing of like the puppet as an entity being able to go into someone's like body, not physically, but like phase into someone's body and take it over. Like I don't know, that's weird. And obviously if the movie's ending like that, with that happening to Vanessa, then it's gonna come back in the third movie, which I'm not excited about. But I do have hope for the third movie, and I'm really interested in some things. The third movie is going to be, starring Springtrap, after he's been in that room, like, decaying and all of that. And I think that's cool. Like, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm hoping it's going to be pretty scary. Because, I mean, Springtrap in general is a pretty gruesome and scary concept. A man getting, crushed in a suit and becoming part of that suit. Like, that's pretty scary. But I don't know. I hope they don't, like, ruin it and make it not scary. But I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. And I just hope the third one, the plot is less all over the place, less forced, and the actual the stars, the animatronics, the things that we're here for, the reason we're watching this movie, I hope that we can get more of a look at them and get more scenes with them and more chase scene, or not chase scenes, but get more like scary, intense scenes. Because the animatronics is what we're here for. We appreciate like the little plot with the characters we know, but like it doesn't need to take up 90% of the movie. And then the animatronics get a little sliver at the end to have a couple little creepy moments, like I want them to be like a big part of the plot, which is kind of not happened so far. Also, another thing I forgot from FNAF 2, the withered animatronics were so cool. They had such good designs, and they got 30 seconds of screen time, give or take. I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was like literally less than a minute of screen time that the wither animatronics. Some of the coolest parts and most memorable part about FNAF 2 the game, the withered animatronics, they got like 10 seconds. They got a brief little moment, probably the scariest moment of the thing. I don't remember it being super scary. And again, they're making like such good animatronic designs that are really cool and are really amazing and what the fans want to see, and then they're like not including them in the plot. Like, how do you like have a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, a franchise built off these characters, and like kind of shove them out of the plot? Like, how do you manage to do that? I don't know. They haven't fully done that. Like, they are still a part of it, but it feels like they're kind of just like a side quest, and then like the main plot is like Vanessa and her dad and Mike and his problems, and it's just like I wish it would be incorporated more, to be honest. Like, that's the main thing I want to see. But that's about it for what I have to say. A lot of people are probably not going to agree with me or not like me after this, but that's alright. I think there's a lot of stuff that need to be said, because at the end of the day, I still enjoyed both of these movies. I still enjoyed them. I think they're really fun, really enjoyable, but I just feel like we can ask for more. Like, just because this is what we got doesn't mean like this is the best that we can get. Like, I feel like we could ask for so much more, like an actual scary, where the animatronics are a big part of the plot, where it's more focused on the animatronics and like the lore instead of the like random movie lore. I want it just like, I guess, to be more FNAF, basically. So I guess that's my message to end this off, just because what we got isn't terrible, and what we got is fun, doesn't mean that like we couldn't be asking for more, and doesn't mean that like this franchise, that's like decades long beloved franchise, doesn't deserve more for its official movie, because I think it does deserve more. I think it deserves a lot more, and I don't know how many more movies there are going to be. Maybe I'll watch this in like years from now, and like the fifth one is coming out, and the fifth one is peak. I don't know. Future me, how's the fifth one? Let me know. But, anyways, I'm so excited for the third one. Hopefully, I didn't make anyone too angry, and correct me on anything I'm wrong about, because this is off the dome, you know? I didn't do any research. I'm just yapping. This is, again, the second channel. My first main channel is the OG Bigfoot, so that's there. But anyways, peace out, everyone. That was a horrible peace sign, but I am holding a microphone. There you go.